Okay, this is my video on Paraguay. I'm in Paraguay for about 2.5 weeks, and I'm going to show you various things. This video from my most recent visit. I've been here several times. Paraguay is one of my top 5 favorite countries in the world. Unlike most of the hustle bustle high-tech city countries that I normally like, Paraguay is the diametric opposite. It is a very quiet, sleepy little country. As you can probably tell, this is the view from my hotel room. And I'm in its capital city. It's only, well, it has 2 cities. Asuncion is the biggest city. That's where I am now, the capital city. It's about, 1.5 million people here. And as you can tell, Paraguay and Asuncion is kind of nestled in a forest. And this is an example of the infrastructure of Paraguay. It is not a third world country, but close. I would categorize it as a second world country. So you see normal cars and things, but then you see like broken sidewalks and messy graffiti and some of that. It's not as bad as a lot of places in Mexico, but anyway. This is an example of a store. So part of the Paraguayan culture is they're really into parties. That's kind of a Latin thing. Parties are a big fucking deal here. So this entire wing of this giant store, it's very big, is all devoted to party stuff. It's kind of crazy. They're much more into parties than we are as Westerners, very similar to the Filipino culture. Kind of crazy. Water here is either with bubbles or without bubbles. They call it gas, syn gas, or con gas, with gas or no gas. You have to be careful when you order water or buy water. You want it with or without gas. I always say syn gas. The 2 unique types of foods here are alfajores, which are like little cakes, and then empanadas, which I just showed you there. Here's another shot from my hotel room. As I mentioned, Asuncion is kind of nestled in this giant, massive forest, which is kind of neat. My hotel room where I'm staying is the Sheraton. That is the nicest hotel literally in the entire country. And because everything is so cheap in Paraguay, we're talking about $130 a night, $140 a night. And this, what you're seeing here, is more the wealthiest area of Asuncion, which is not that great. COVID's a real problem in Paraguay, or at least it is perceived as a real problem. I haven't dug into the numbers hardcore enough to tell you whether or not it's a real problem or whether or not it's perceived as a problem. But a few months ago, they had riots here because of the virus. It's not surprising that they have problems here because they border Brazil, which is one of the worst countries in the world for COVID. So to fly into Paraguay, I had to present a number of documents. Number one, I had to present a negative COVID test, which is typical these days. But I also had to present proof that I had, international health insurance, which I do. And I had to show multiple items of proof that they checked multiple times. Then I had to fill out an online form that put a QR code on my phone that I had to present multiple times, both at the airport before I departed and when I arrived in Asuncion. And mask usage is enforced here. You'll see in some of the videos where they have installed little sinks in front of just about every public place, and you are forced to wash your hands with soap and dry them off before you enter the establishment. This is enforced in many places like malls and things like that. In some places it's not enforced, but I've noticed people do it anyway. It's just a really big deal here. And right now I'm in a kind of a little private corner here in the mall, one of the malls. And that's why I'm getting away with not wearing a mask because I'm not eating anything right now. But I promise you, if some security guard walks by or sees me, he's gonna come right over and say, hey man, put on your mask. So it's a big deal here, unfortunately. This is an example of those stations where you have to wash your hands before you enter a building. This is one of their bigger malls. And you literally have to wash your hands. Then the guy has to check your temperature and all that good stuff. While this is showing, to give you an idea for what my plans are for Paraguay in terms of my 5 flags, which is why I'm here. Paraguay is one of my backup countries. So this is one of my backup residencies in case there is a problem with Dubai. I love Dubai. I plan on staying in Dubai for 10 years plus, but if down the road there's some kind of unforeseen challenge with Dubai or problem where they raise taxes, I can pop on over to here. Also, if there is some kind of major problem with the world, which I'm not anticipating, but it's possible, over the next 10 to 20 years, Paraguay is a country that nobody cares about. It's this landlocked little country in the middle of South America. No one really gives a shit about it. There's never going to be a war here. There is, it's a pretty safe place to be. And this is kind of my quiet retreat type country, plus my backup country. Some more shots here from on top of my hotel room. You're looking down at some of the homes. This is not really an apartment culture. You'll see some apartment buildings in a little bit, but most people live in houses here. The houses are not that great. And as you're looking out over this, just past those white buildings is where you have the more wealthy neighborhoods. That just same deal of older houses. You'll see some apartment buildings kind of dotted around. But like I said, not really an apartment culture here. So let's talk about the women here, because I know that's one of the questions most guys have. The women here are attractive, and the bottom line statement for women in Paraguay is that women have big butts. All women here have big, big asses. So teenage girls, younger women, older women, middle-aged women, old ladies, they all have big butts here. They don't have big boobs here, and so boobs here are kind of like the United States. Some women have them, some don't, but they have all big butts. And there are no like super gorgeous women here. You won't find 9s and 10s here, but you will find a lot of 7s and 8s here. So when I talk about ugly, average, cute, hot, lots of cute women here with big asses. And if you like big asses, hallelujah, that's the kind of place this is, much more curvy. Women here are also much more sex positive, much lower ASD, as per most of South American women. That's just kind of the standard here. Not a big deal, but kind of great if that's what you like. Now, for those of you who are going to ask, well, Kayla, why don't you show us pictures of some women or some video of some women? No, thanks, man. I don't want to get banned on YouTube. Plus, that might be illegal. I'm not going to get into that kind of trouble. No, thank you. But you're going to have to take my word for it. The women here are very cute. They're not hot, and they have big butts, and they have white skin. If that sounds like that's your kind of woman, then Paraguay is great. If that's not your kind of woman, then this is not the place to be. Now, in terms of taxes, Paraguay is a territorial taxed country, which is why I like it. That means that they do not charge you any taxes on money you make outside of Paraguay. They only charge you taxes on money you make in Paraguay. So if you have location independent Alpha 2.0 income, you can move to Paraguay or spend a lot of time in Paraguay, and resident or not, and they will not charge you a single bit of taxes unless you make income inside the country. This here is the presidential palace, and like most places in Southern Europe and South America, everybody here hates their government. The government is corrupt. They steal a bunch of money. Corruption is kind of the norm in South America, so you'll hear a lot of complaining about that. As I record this is early April, and this is their summer because they are south of the equator, so it's about 85 degrees today, and a little humidity here. There's a little humidity in Paraguay, but it's not bad. It's not enough to kill you or drive you insane, like in Malaysia or certain places in Southeast Asia or Singapore. So it's a tolerable humidity. It's not too bad. I'm able to walk around and have it not bother me too badly, even when it's typically warm here. The next time I come here will be in their winter, which will be our summer. It'll be June or July, and it'll be the first time I have been here in their winter, which will be interesting. They say it really doesn't get very cold here, and it really doesn't. It doesn't snow here or anything like that. But the weather here is pretty nice. It was nice arriving here from rainy, terrible, horrible Portland, Oregon, which is going through nonstop rain and cold and cloudiness. You have some cloudy days here right now, but most of the time I've been here, it's been sunny. I'm about halfway through my 2.5-week stay here at the moment, and the weather here is nice. This is the primary river. It's literally called the Paraguay River. I don't know what it's called in Spanish because I don't speak Spanish, but Paraguay is a landlocked country, which does not spell a lot of positive for their economy. However, my understanding is, in terms of shipping, it is the second largest river-based shipping economy, either in the world or South America. I don't remember which one. So this river is big enough to do a lot of shipping, and so the economy is able to more or less do okay. Again, okay for South America. It's still a second world country because they have this river by Asuncion. This is near downtown Asuncion, and you can see some of the buildings. There are no tall buildings here. And again, the vast majority of the population does not live in a building. This is the opposite of a place like Hong Kong or Dubai, as you can probably tell. This is one casino I saw here, and it's this little teeny tiny cute little building. that's a casino. Oh, hilarious when you're used to places like Vegas. This was a fancy for them rooftop bar/restaurant I went to. And again, this building is, at least compared to what I'm used to, a very tiny, short little building. I think this is like 13 floors, 15 floors, something like that, which is pretty damn big in Asuncion. There was a pool there. I wanted to jump into it. They said no. It's very sad. The food here is, it's all right. The alfajores, which are very good, are amazing. The empanadas are very good. But beyond that, it's just standard food. This is another shot of the fancy mall that, again, fancy for them. Fancy mall right by where I'm staying at the Sheraton. And as I mentioned earlier, I usually stay in this part of town, which is the nicer part of town, just to be a little more compatible with my Western sensibilities. I'm about to show you some of the negatives and some of the poverty here in Asuncion in Paraguay. There is a lot of this, or at least there's a lot of poverty, but there is some real poverty. People here in Paraguay are the most chill and relaxed people in all of South America, probably in all of the Latin world. Most of the Latin world, people are very excited and very emotional and very loud, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a fun way, but not here in Paraguay. Paraguay, they're very chill, they're very relaxed, very, very different from the Brazilians, very different from the Mexicans, very different from the Colombians, even very different than the Argentinians, which is right over there. So it's a very interesting little place where these are the relaxed, chill Hispanics. And when I say Hispanics, these are the white-skinned Hispanics for the most part down here. They're very white down here because, again, Argentina is right there. But they have Latin and Latina facial features. So imagine a Latina or a Latino, but with white skin instead of darker skin. That's what you have for Paraguay here. Okay, this is one of my favorite parts of South America. Actually, the whole Latin world, starting with Mexico, frankly, is they have lightning storms here. And you may not give a shit, but I come from the Pacific Northwest where we really don't have any lightning at all, ever, almost never. And so several times while I was here, they had these huge, gigantic lightning storms where the entire sky, you can see some of this here, lights up. And it's just the booming sound, it like knocks you over. It's right above you. It's so cool. And most people get scared and run inside. And I'm like, cool, this is fun. And I run outside and I take videos. Oh, that's a good one. I take videos of it. Matter of fact, we had a lightning storm like this in Cabo San Lucas for pink fireflies and my honeymoon. And same thing, all kinds of lightning. And she got scared and ran back inside. And I said, oh, cool. And I videotaped it. So this was, had 2 or 3 nights of this so far, this lightning stuff. I think it's great. I don't like rain, obviously. One of the reasons I moved to Dubai was to get away from the rain. So I hate it when it rains wherever I visit somewhere. But this is wimpy pussy rain as compared to what I'm accustomed to in the Portland/Seattle area. So, I can deal with it. Not a big deal. So let's talk about Spanish and language barriers and things like that. People here generally do not speak English. What you will find is the younger the person, the more likely they are to speak some English. And the women and men who can speak English, who are not professionals, they speak reasonably broken English. In other words, you can have a conversation, but you're going to have to work a little hard. There are some people who do speak English. There are some younger women who do speak English, and you can communicate. All of my attorneys and professional staff that I'm working with down here do my 5 flags. I'm doing some banking here, residency here, some other stuff. Obviously, they speak English, but this would be the upper class people who are required to speak English, and their English is very good. As per my usual thing, whenever I visit a country that doesn't speak English, I make sure I have a good Wi-Fi connection on my phone, and then I just use Google Translate. And there's a function in Google Translate that is conversation mode, and you speak into your phone and it speaks out Spanish. And then the person then speaks in Spanish and it speaks out English. And it works fine. I've done business deals like that all over the world. I've had sex with women who didn't speak English using that system. It's fine. It's a little cumbersome, but it's not a big deal, and it's totally workable. So don't think you have to speak Spanish or speak foreign languages in order to travel the world and experience the world, because you really don't. The currency they use here is called Guarani, and there's actually 2 languages here. Okay, now this is an example of some of the poverty they have here. They have people who literally live in these boarded up shacks. They're literally just big wooden boards stacked up to 4 walls and kind of a roof, and they live here. It's not very nice. There are families here with little kids. It's pretty bad. This is real poverty. When Americans and Westerners say poverty, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's real poverty. Not a lot of that, but you'll have some. So this is where I got my COVID test. And as you can see, it's pretty primitive. It's basically just a parking lot with some cardboard shacks set up to do your blood test, or not your blood test, the nose test. And what's interesting is that I was expecting to wait a long time, wait in a big long line for this. And I realized that people in Paraguay can't afford COVID tests. They're too expensive for them. My COVID test here was about $70 US, probably the cheapest COVID test I've ever taken in my life. Usually if you go to a first world country, you're looking at double that, 150, 100, 170 bucks, 140 bucks, something like that. But I didn't have to wait very long. It was kind of nice. And what's interesting is I actually forgot to bring my passport to this COVID test. So they say, well, we need ID. And I showed them my Washington State driver's license. And they're like, ugh. And I could tell they didn't want to take it, but they took it. So it was all fine. And so I had to do this a day or 2 before I left Paraguay to head back to Dubai. So a slight addendum onto my Paraguay trip. I have officially encountered my first major travel problem traveling internationally in a COVID world. And I should probably be thankful because so far I haven't had any problems, major problems. This is the first one. So this is, as I record this, it's about 2 a.m. in the morning on Saturday night / Sunday morning, April 18th. And as of right now, I am supposed to be on a plane headed for Panama. So the plan was to head to Panama, have a long layover in the Panama airport, then take Turkish Airlines and go to Istanbul, Turkey, have a brief layover there, and then head back home to Dubai. It was the only way, literally, the only way to get me from Paraguay to Dubai. And we were lucky to get that. Not very fun, but that was the only way to do it. So I just went to the airport to catch my flight at, whenever it was, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And they informed me that the only way I can get on the plane is if I show proof of an outgoing ticket from Panama City. Because of COVID, Panama is not allowing any visitors from South America to stay in Panama. You have to have a connecting flight or they will not allow you into the country. So I said, no problem. I'll just check into my Turkish Airlines flight headed out of Panama City going to Istanbul. So I stand there with my phone, check in, and they said and the web check-in is valid for this. They just need to see some kind of web check-in verification. I check into my Turkish Airlines flight, and Turkish Airlines says, sorry, due to COVID, your flight has been canceled. So you can either cancel the flight or choose a different flight. Fuck. So I go to choose a different flight. There are no other flights. So I tell the guy at the airport in Asuncion, Paraguay, hey, I can't get a flight out of Panama. And he said, well, sorry, we can't let you on this plane. So awesome. So I had to head back to my hotel room, 2 o'clock in the morning, and getting Ubers in Paraguay at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning is not easy. All the weirdos, during the day it's fine, but at night it's not fun. You get weirdos, you get guys who come halfway and then cancel your trip, so you got to find another guy. You get weirdos who text you asking for cash. All the weirdos come out on Uber in Paraguay at midnight or beyond. So that was interesting. Getting an Uber back here was fun. Then I checked back into my hotel room and all that good stuff. So I'm officially now stranded in Paraguay until I figure this out. What they were able to do was they were able to move me to the next flight headed out of Paraguay to Panama tomorrow night at 2 a.m. But if I can't figure out a flight out of Panama City, that flight will be useless. So as of now, I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm just going to go to bed. I'm kind of tired. All this chaos for a flu where 26% of the people who get it don't even have any symptoms. And the people who have symptoms have a survival rate of 99.5%. And the fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1% of people who die are the ones who have 2.4 pre-existing comorbidities. So, what have I learned from this? My philosophy is always, everything in my life is my fault. So, including the bad things. The good things are my fault. Good for me. The bad things are my fault. I'm a dumbass. So, this entire problem is my fault. Because that's the philosophy I follow. Everything in my life is my fault. So, because this is my fault, what have I learned through this experience? How am I going to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Well, there's a few problems in that I had multiple connecting flights, and if any one of them gets canceled, I'm screwed. And now I will not be arriving in Dubai the day I planned, and I had numerous appointments that are now going to be canceled, rescheduled. I have an online conference that I paid for. That's a 3-day conference. I'm going to miss at least a day of that. That's not fun. So what have I learned to prevent this in the future? Well, number one, from now on, whenever I have connecting flights anywhere during the COVID era, which I'm sure is going to last at least another year, if not longer, if not forever, it won't be forever, but it's going to be a long, long time. So what I'm going to have to do is every time I have international connecting flights, I'm going to have to check in with every flight. So if I have 3 connecting flights, check in with all 3 flights as soon as I can, 48 hours or 24 hours before. Even if they normally don't allow you to do that, because usually when you check in for a flight, there's no point. On an international flight, they say, well, sorry, you have to go to the desk because we need to see your passport. Or, well, sorry, you have to go to the desk because we need to see your COVID test. And so I'm going to just have to check in with every flight well before I go to the airport for the first flight, or else I'm wasting my time like I just did. So That's the first change I have to make. The second thing I have learned, the second thing I'm going to start doing is I am not going to schedule any appointments whatsoever within 48 hours of me landing in a new country for any reason, because this kind of stuff could happen and I don't want to cancel and reschedule 14 appointments every time an airline fucks up because of COVID. So I'll do that. So between those two things, this should not happen again. And if it happens again, it'll be a mitigatable problem. Maybe a third thing I should do is always have a backup plan or a backup flight out of every existing connecting airport. Now, I don't do that. My staff does this. My chief of staff manages all my travel arrangements. So that'll be something on her SOP, standard operating procedure for our business. So there you go. As always, everything in my life is my fault. So this was my fault. Well, Caleb, it's COVID's fault. It's stupid government's fault. No, it's my fault. I am well aware that I live in a nightmare world gone mad. And so I should have been prepared for something like this. So, everything in my life is my fault. And that's a good thing because this isn't going to happen again. So, and plus, I am location independent. I'm an alpha male 2.0. I'm outcome independent. So if I'm stranded in Paraguay for a few more days, that's fine. That's cool with me. I like Paraguay. Paraguay's great, as I've talked about. So it's not a big deal. It's just weird. My birthday's in 2 days, so I literally don't know what country I will be in on my birthday. I could be in Paraguay. I could be in Panama. I could be in Istanbul. I could be in Dubai. Or I could be in a fourth place. I don't know yet. Shit, I have no idea. I could be back in the United States. I doubt it. But I have to get back to Dubai as soon as I can because I have Five Flags stuff there. There's a timer in some of this stuff. So anyway, this is international travel in a COVID world. And again, I should be thankful. I always look at the bright side of these things. This is the first problem I've had, and maybe this is the last problem I'll ever have, considering all the international travel I've done, since they've opened up the borders. So there you go. So if there's an update to this, I will probably add it to this video at the end. Otherwise, if you don't see anything after this, that means I got out of Paraguay within a reasonable period of time, about 24 hours or so. But I am very tired. I'm very sleepy. I'm going to go to bed. And I won't be able to sleep in tomorrow. I'll have to get up early to figure this out. So there you go. Have fun.